But got the new boot cowl done. Haven't worked on it for a few days because I kind of got waylaid by getting a job. I had to deal with that. I got to the point where I've got the top of the boot cowl all shaped up. The firewall was drilled for the nut plates, and I've got to put the nut plates in the firewall and in the side panels on the boot cowl, and that pretty much finishes that up. I'll still have to make a cover for the top where it goes around that strut up there, that V-strut where it comes down. I have to make some kind of cover on it, and of course paint and a couple other little odds and ends. But I remembered as I was finishing this up, before I riveted these last nut plates in, that there was a part I was forgetting on here. Oh, this is the original boot cowl. I think this is a Piper boot cowl, probably came from the airplane, and you can see it's been modified here for the square instrument panel the Cub crafters put in. They just basically cut out a section of it and then put in a section of the combing inside the windshield that raises up and makes a shape for that square instrument panel. But there's nothing wrong with this boot cowl or this firewall, and I think this is a stainless steel firewall on here, except the fact that it doesn't quite fit this new fuselage. Now, the original firewall, the boot cowl, is two pieces, two halves, clamshell halves. They separate, or they attach here in the middle, riveted together, and then the firewall is just a flat sheet that's cut out in this shape, and the boot cowl is crimped and shaped around the firewall. It folds over the firewall and is riveted to it. The instructions for the airframe say that you can reuse the original boot cowl by unriveting this seams here on the top and the bottom and spreading the boot cowl out in the back and then putting a patch in there. You could have done that, and it could have made it look okay. I didn't like that idea, as well as making a firewall that would fit, and that's one of the reasons I went to the Atlee Dodge firewall. Is the firewall is folded here around the edge, so you can just make flat panels here for the boot cowl to go around, so it makes it easier to fit up. Now, it's just as well that I got stopped where I did here on this, because as I was looking at this and thinking about it, I realized I forgot something, and that was these engine cowling attach mounts. You can see they've got these angle brackets here attached to the firewall, and the engine cowling channels that hold the engine cowling attached to these mounts. There's 4 of them, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, and they have a reciprocal angle in here on the inside of the boot cowl that's bent, that goes down here. That's what this attaches to, is this leg where it goes down, and then it goes back here under the boot cowl for support. So I need to make those up and attach those to the boot cowl, and that's the reason I brought the old boot cowl up here, is so I could take the dimensions off of that. As I said, this firewall is the exact same dimensions as the one that's on there now, so I can use these dimensions to transfer off of this one onto the new one to put those on. Now, I got these strips of stainless steel. This is 1/8 inch by 3/4 inch wide. I bend these up into L brackets to put in here, and get those put in, riveted in with the nut plates in the right spot. I'm making up this boot cowl, and with the firewall installed on here, I laid out this top panel. Well, I laid out all the panels. I measured out for the holes. I put them on 3-inch centers, and I started out, well, I marked the center mark over here, and then I measured off 3-inch centers, 1.5 inches on each side of it for the holes. And then I realized that I didn't have these brackets. These are doublers here, or brackets that go through for the cowling, engine cowling bracket, and I realized that I hadn't figured out where those go. So I brought the old engine cowling up here, measured it out, found the center line on it, and measured, and it was 9.6 inches from the edge of this bracket to the center line on the top on both sides. It's a different measurement on the bottom, but the top one is 9.6 inches from the center. So 9.6 inches puts the edge of this one bracket right here where the ear, the rivet, where the nut plate would have went on this one rivet on this one nut plate, on this one hole. I've got some one-legged nut plates that I can put on there. That it has a rivet hole here and another rivet hole here. Rivets in two spots on the side instead of a rivet on each side of the nut. But they're captured nut plates, meaning they don't float like these other ones do, so they have to be pretty close to the right position. And it's also a miniature one, so the the rivets are closer together, and I don't have a jig that'll fit that. But we'll figure it out. We'll get it in there and get it figured out. I made up these doubler plates, these little plates that go behind the firewall for the cowling attached brackets, and they're 3 inches long on this leg, and this leg, it was actually on the factory one, it only comes down to about here, so one of the screws that mounts the outer bracket on there, L bracket on there, goes into the doubler, and the other one just goes into the firewall. But I made these a little bit longer so I can put the screws on the brackets through both of these instead of just one of them. And so I made this, well, it's a little over 2 inches. I measured down 2 inches, made a mark, and then made a little relief bend on there so that bends away from the sheet metal and doesn't leave a hard spot there, a sharp edge and a hard spot to concentrate the stresses, which might cause a crack. Oh, and I did the same thing on this one. This leg is 3 inches long, and I took and bent the end of it down a little bit so that it comes away from that panel a little bit and doesn't leave a sharp spot there. So I've got one of them in there. I was trial fitting it, and I was figuring out how to put this on, and I can get it fitted in there, and then I'll put nut plates on it, and I put screws in from the top boot cowl down through it to hold it down so that the top boot cowl can come off. The original one, of course, it's riveted on there, and then you have screws that go in from the front here on the firewall to screw on the L brackets for the engine cowling. I was measuring that all out, getting ready to drill it, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. There were dimples in here in the firewall where these brackets go to locate them. They weren't drilled, but they were dimpled. So I went ahead and took a number 40 drill bit and piloted out these holes where these dimples were in it. And then I clamped this bracket up on here, and I just run a number 40 drill bit in those holes to spot that bracket. I can take it out and finish the holes out, and then enlarge these holes for a number 8 screw. And I'm just going to put number 8 nut plates on these and number 8 screws through there. There's a number 10 screw that goes down into the bracket that holds the engine cowling on. That's what was on there, and so I'll put a number 10 nut plate on that bracket, but that's just one screw that goes in there. This one will have 2, so that'll be plenty strong enough there. I don't know if these will show up on the camera or not. They're just barely a dot on there, but there's one for the screw hole. There's the second one. And at first I thought these were just scratches on there, but when I got looking where they go on here, I can see that they're not just scratches, that they're intentionally put in there. And they're here on this top one, on both top ones, and on the bottom ones. They're located in the right spot. Well, that'll make things a little easier. Oh, here's the lower one. There's a dimple there and a dimple there for that bracket. Now, unfortunately, that lines right up with this screw, and I've already got a nut plate on that, so I'm going to have to take those out and figure out what to do with that. But the dimples are in there on both of those, so those are already located in there. I got the straps made here, the brackets. These are for the doublers, the carry-throughs for the engine cowling mount, and got those put on. Got all my nut plates put in, the firewall on the top here for the top piece, and I've got I have the nut plates put in down here on this side pieces where the top piece goes in. And one on the left side wound up being right underneath one of the screws holes that I'd put in for the top cowling. Well, that worked out okay. I was able to put a nut plate underneath it. Then I put 2 number 6 nut plates back here where this top boot cowl will screw into it. And then these will be the screws. These have got nut plates in them, number 8s here. This will be where the mount that goes out for the engine cowling mounts on. I'll go ahead and get this top piece all fitted in here and set up, and then I'll have to take it all apart to get down to do the two on the bottom. Well, there's the boot cowl. There's the top. It's all installed. Get the screws in this lower where it attaches to the lower section, all the ones around the front. These are for the engine cowling mounts here. Those are on. Of course, inside on the instrument panel. And this one's for the engine mount cowling. So that thing's on there. I think I'm going to put a doubler underneath these engine cowling mounts. They don't quite come up to match the top cowling because the lip of the firewall comes back this way, so they've got to kind of make up for that. And I need to still roll an edge on these, but that's it.